morning. My name is Jackie, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the CA Capacity Management Global User Community Webcast. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. I would now like to turn the call over to Kathy Hickey. Ms. Hickey, please go ahead.
Thanks, Jackie. Welcome, everyone, to our Capacity Management Global User Community presentation today. We appreciate you taking the time to hear about some exciting things we have going on within the portfolio. Before I begin, just a couple of kind of housekeeping items. As Jackie said, we'll be taking questions at the end of the webcast. You can also, if you so desire, use the Q&A feature within the live meeting up on the top menu bar, and we'll collect those questions and answer those as well. And one other item, we'd like to put a call out to folks who are interested in becoming a board member for our Capacity Management Global User Community. We'd encourage anyone interested to go to our homepage, the community homepage, and you'll see a couple of different links to email Mary Greening. We are currently recruiting for board members for this particular community and would be excited to hear from you. So with that said, today I'll be joined by Paul Peterson and Jeremy Rosbach here from CA. We're all focused in on the capacity management product portfolio. And what we'd like to do is share with you some insight we have into enabling predictive reliability for the business critical services and applications that you're providing to your end users. And really what this highlights is that it enables you to extend the value of the purchases that perhaps you've made in our infrastructure management and or our application performance management solutions and leveraging the capacity management portfolio. So what we'll do is we'll start with just providing some insight into the capacity management portfolio. How does it fit into the larger service assurance solution set that we provide to customers? And then we'll go into some specific use cases and the value that capacity management brings to the table. Capacity management certainly has gone through a transformation as a practice within the last several years, where it's moved from being something that a specific person or two or group would focus in on within an IT department to becoming a critical component across many of the roles within IT, and we'll talk a bit about how that has migrated and the requirement for capacity management solutions and tools to be available to a much wider audience. We'll go into specifically predictive reliability and what we see as a benefit, as well as we'll be looking at some recent successes that some of our customers have experienced in leveraging our solution in the combined portfolios. So with that, I'll go into just where does capacity management fit within, and how does it fit within the wider service assurance portfolio across our infrastructure management, application performance management solutions, as well as our service operations management and executive insight. We see capacity management as a critical component within this portfolio and see value in applying capacity management across all of these specific disciplines within an IT organization and within our service assurance portfolio. So how this all fits in is that from a portfolio perspective, we see application performance management and infrastructure management providing that end-to-end service delivery, insight, optimization, as well as providing insight into how well we're delivering these particular applications and how well the infrastructure is supporting those business critical applications that are provided to your end users. monitoring both from a performance standpoint and a fault standpoint, and just understanding overall performance, providing root cause analysis. We see capacity management as a critical component that spans across both applications and infrastructure. With the application performance management solution within our portfolio, as well as our infrastructure management solution, we provide great visibility into historic performance and availability and current real-time status. And what capacity management does is it enables you to extend that visibility to look at future. What will be required? What will I be able to continue to deliver good quality service to my end users based upon anticipated changes within the business, and provide you with the ability to model out different scenarios, understand how well and efficiently you're utilizing those resources, identification of waste. It enables you to extend the purview of what you have with the visibility across those applications and infrastructure. And then we have our Service Operations Management Solution, SOI, that sits on top to bring together both a view of the applications and tying that to the infrastructure and understanding how well you're truly delivering those services to your end users. And really what we're seeing is just a multitude of data sources coming in, feeding into these solutions. And what the capacity management portfolio does is it leverages that data that's already been collected by, let's say, the Application Performance Management Solution, our CA Application Performance Management, as well as our CA Infrastructure Management Solutions, leverages that data that's already been collected and provides that ability to perform that predictive analysis. What we've also done, and we'll talk a little bit about it, we're very excited, is we've recently exposed this efficiency data, the efficiency analysis that's performed with the capacity management solution. We've exposed that to our Executive Insight, which is our executive dashboard solution that provides visibility across mobile devices to those executives that are interested in understanding how well you're delivering those services, as well as how efficiently are you utilizing the resources and delivery of those services. And really, at the end of the day, we have ways in which we're actually able to tie into, through some APIs, being able to then leverage automation solutions, act on that rich information that's been exposed. So where do we see this what's the value of these predictive analytics? And as I had stated before, capacity management certainly has gone through an evolution as a discipline. And it has become much more of a, near real-time function versus a discrete activity that took place perhaps once or twice a year in planning out budgets and so forth. It has certainly become a requirement to be much more near real-time in enabling organizations to have the insight to make informed decisions regarding capacity of resources and understanding kind of future predictive what will happen if different business scenarios take place, if my load increases, if the number of users increase, if I am going through a merger and an acquisition and I'm planning on bringing on a significant additional user base, including additional workloads, will I be able to support these changes that are taking place? So certainly enables organizations to make those informed decisions, enables organizations to be most efficient with the resources that are available. Data center costs are certainly increasing quite rapidly. Organizations are finding it much more difficult perhaps to make capital expenditures. There's a lot more cost involved in just purchasing hardware. There's a lot more cost involved in data centers, heating, cooling, space, so forth. And it's extremely important to have visibility into how efficiently you're using those resources. Where is there waste? Where are those hot spots? Do I need to move my workloads around? I could be negatively impacting the performance of the services that I'm delivering. And as I said as well, being able to just, in the end, perform analysis, do what is analysis? to be able to make those informed decisions in delivering these services to your end users. As I had mentioned earlier, we're actually very excited about this. We released this capability with our Executive Insight 1.3 release. It has GA'd, just recently GA'd. And really what this enables you to do is to leverage this rich data across your infrastructure applications, leverage the analysis that's performed by the capacity management solution, and provide visibility to those business executives that have a need to understand how efficiently is my organization using the resources, where are my overutilized resources, where are my underutilized resources, and provides a unique visibility into the results of these analytics that are performed. So let's dive in a bit about into these use cases and certain business initiatives, perhaps that in which we've seen our customers gaining value from leveraging our solution. Certainly understanding as new services are brought on board, being able to understand the performance through alternate delivery channels. So providing you the capability to model your workloads and the performance of those particular workloads, whether you're using your internal private cloud or perhaps even public cloud resources. How well will it perform? It provides visibility and insight into being able to compare and contrast those different delivery channels and understand what impact that will have to the performance of those services that are being delivered. Providing visibility into understanding alternative methods of improving performance. Again, providing that ability to compare and contrast what workloads would look like across different platforms, different resources. Predict the impact of variable growth forecasts. So understanding, will I be able to handle the additional workloads, perhaps based upon seasonality? If you happen to have a business that's seasonal, you need to understand, will I be able to meet the needs of those high demand growth areas and most efficiently using those resources? Certainly where we're seeing a tremendous amount of value and to be quite honest with you, a very clear-cut ROI with this particular solution is having that visibility into overall looking at your resources, understanding the utilization, understanding very easily where is the waste within the infrastructure, being able to identify that and perhaps redeploy that to other workloads, other areas, applications, services that require additional resources without having to make those capital expenditures and purchases of additional infrastructure. And then finally, just being able to enable businesses to be much more agile. We're certainly seeing across our customer base the need to be able to make decisions very, very rapidly and act very quickly as business demands change, as competitive scenarios within the marketplace take place, and being able to have the insight to make these informed decisions very rapidly with confidence. Being able to have confidence in the analytics is certainly extremely important. Those are some of the business initiatives. And now if we just look at very specifically IT initiatives. So when organizations are performing hardware refreshes, the market data indicates that hardware refreshes take place at approximately 30% of infrastructure is refreshed every year. So hardware refreshes are taking place all the time, and really being able to compare from what we call our component model library, understanding the different platforms and how well they'll handle the specific workloads based upon that historical performance and consumption and utilization, enabling you to make, again, those informed decisions when you are performing hardware refreshes and understanding the different platforms and the costs associated with those. Certainly, every IT organization, or at least most IT organizations that we're seeing, have the virtual first directive from their organizations. And so a lot of organizations are either moving their workloads from physical onto virtual, although a lot of them, from what we're seeing in our customer base, already have. And what we're seeing now is kind of migrating into the virtual. Organizations are becoming much more confident in virtual platforms, perhaps outside of the VMware arena, and would like to understand how will those workloads perform as they're migrating perhaps those workloads from a VMware environment into a Hyper-V environment, and being able to perform those hypothetical analysis in understanding the potential impact to the performance and the delivery of those services relying on those workloads. Software upgrades, so being able to leverage perhaps data collected within test environments, understand scalability from the data that's been collected in those test environments to be able to model out what will be required when you move from a test environment that's testing perhaps 5 simultaneous users going out to 500 simultaneous users. What impact will that have to response rates, to utilization, and being able to make, again, informed decisions as you're rolling out, going from test to production. Being able to look at, understand alternative architectures and configurations. So when you're doing reconfigurations, whether that happens to be across different hardware platforms, different operating systems, physical to virtual, being able, again, to understand those different configurations and what will be required in doing those compare and contrast. And then finally, looking at outsourcing. So many of our customers are looking at outsourcing to cloud vendors, to third-party cloud vendors. Our component model library actually enables you to model out those workloads across those top cloud and outsourcing providers to make informed decisions based upon how well your workloads will operate within those cloud environments. And based upon all of those different scenarios, whether they're business specific or IT specific, certainly what we've seen is tremendous success within our customer base, and just some of the return on investment that we've seen from customers is actually very, very impressive, and we happen to be very fortunate. It's very measurable as well. So we've been able to reduce labor, full-time employees that have been manually performing capacity management using perhaps spreadsheets and manual methods, which oftentimes have proven to be highly inaccurate. They've been able to redeploy those resources to work on much more strategic initiatives as opposed to manually manipulating through spreadsheets. We've been able to reduce costs across a multitude of areas, including hardware, service outages, reducing data center footprints. So we've seen a pretty significant measurable return on investment across our CA capacity management customer base. So it's actually very exciting. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul Peterson, who's going to talk about the very specific predictive reliability use cases and some of the value that we're seeing from our customers.
Right. Thank you, Kathy. Just to kind of get into this a little bit, kind of setting the stage, if you will, on some of the misconceptions I think that might be out there around how to plan for and manage change in your environment. In many cases, people always think that we can just throw some hardware at an infrastructure and we'll be able to handle everything that's going to happen, right? But not necessarily is it true that by adding hardware that you're going to make sure that you're going to address all the performance issues that may be out there. We think those servers, if we have enough headroom to meet our business needs, it's not going to have any impact on application performance. Well, how do you know those things, right? Sometimes intuition doesn't prove to be true. So what are some of the changes that are out there that can be driving or causing those assumptions to not be true, right? So the reality is that our application landscapes are changing and have become much more complex because the modes for delivery of a business service or a business application, we have so many choices now available to us in this new world of cloud, be it a virtual private cloud, a hybrid cloud, an internal infrastructure as a service type of environment, combinations of different types of service traffic, being a traditional users accessing the system or APIs that are driving load because you've outsourced and provided a new interface into the application via another service provider. All of these kind of front-end options, back-end options of where to potentially burst on demand for things like storage or even horizontal scaling on demand by adding in additional servers to meet a spike in load. Right? The reality of your application landscape is that it's changed very significantly. Even while you're in production with things like partition mobility across numerous hypervisor vendors such as VMware or even similar mobility type things on AIX platforms, right? If, in the midst of a transaction, the infrastructure may change for you right in the middle, right? So how do you ensure responsiveness for your applications in this dramatically changing environment? So if we kind of look at some of the things that contribute to that changing nature of the application, the complexity of the combination of the technology and the processes that are in there, there could be any number of opportunities for response time problems or performance problems that could fall into that environment. We talked about not only infrastructure as a service types of capabilities where you may be leveraging the Amazon cloud or Rackspace, but you could also be leveraging service environments as well, so a Google service or some of those types of things to bring together. So that heterogeneous environment is not just at an infrastructure level anymore. Evolving service delivery and consumption models. We just talked about, even for us, we have a different consumption model now through Executive Insight. That's a mobile interface into our environment that's driving consumption in a different way for our overall end-to-end service. There are different APIs from service provider that will contribute to that. And kind of finally, this is another newer one, but the boundaries between traditional kind of QA and production are starting to get blurred when you're dealing with these very agile, as companies adopt agile and Scrum-based technologies to bring capability to market quicker. Things that were previously offline, maybe in a pre-production type of lab, they may be migrating much closer in adoption into your production cycle. You have mashup type capabilities that may be bringing things much closer to production model as well. So that mixture on how those things come together is also blurring how you can control the performance and capacity of this environment. All right, so if we look at well, how do you address that? Right, so from within an overall kind of APM lifecycle view of the environment, really the goal here is to deliver a quality application or quality service to market quickly. And because you do have time to market requirements, you have in this new changing world with all these different access modes into your applications, you likely have increased availability requirements, and certainly you have a low mean time to recovery if you do have any issues that are out there. So within the CA product set within our application performance management suites, we have a set of capabilities that covers the overall life cycle from development to QA, performance, staging, and production. In our particular view here from a predictive reliability perspective, if we look and focus on the performance angles, this is one of the avenues where taking information from not only the APM side of the house, but also from the infrastructure management side, we use those as blended sets of source of data as a basis for modeling change, right? So if you are in a test lab and you are doing some form of base load test, then we can use that as the basis of an indicative baseline load and go through and do what-if scenarios to say, okay, what happens if I change? Because typically your test environments are not indicative of, one, the load, or two, what you expect the infrastructure to be that's going to support that environment. And using some of the solutions that are available through predictive reliability, you're able to go through and model some of the different forms of what-if scenarios that Kathy was mentioning for what is it going to look like if my test environment happens to be VMware and my production environment happens to be AIX. And we all know that there is, it's not just a factor of the hardware and the operating system and the hypervisor, it's also the interaction with how those workloads themselves are consuming resources within the environment. Each of those are a vector, if you will, on understanding performance and capacity of these environments as you go forward. So having the ability to model out those changes, understanding response time impacts and so on, help contribute to a much more high quality application that you deliver to market. And you can do it in a condensed time frame based on the fact that you can do modeling scenarios to determine the impacts of those changes and not have to do very large-scale load testing across a very complex and heterogeneous infrastructure. And to be candid on it, how do you do that now in a world with all of these very disparate sets of either service interactions and/or cloud as a service, platform as a service? How do you bring those things together? So quality of service, right? So predicting that impact, it's difficult. So just to touch on some of the things, visualize some of the things that I just talked about, you have things like hardware refreshes. As Kathy mentioned, 30% on average of an infrastructure is depreciated every year, and you're looking at new hardware platforms that are coming in. You may be looking to adopt new converged infrastructure environments from any of the major server vendors that are out there if you're looking at a service level, server level. Virtualization technology. You have new versions of hypervisors that become more efficient over time. We've seen quite an improvement in most of the hypervisor vendors that are out there as they've gone through the generations of their products and improving the efficiency of the typical overheads that are encountered in virtual environments. Dealing with software upgrade, going from client-server-based applications to SOA-based applications. What's the impact of those transactions that have different weights and consumption values for CPU and memory and throughput against your environment? Reconfigurations of your standard virtual infrastructure. As applications or VMs move around, they each are driving loads in different ways. So how does that reconfiguration of where the VMs are impact your quality of service? Service offering, demand, marketing campaigns, mergers and acquisitions. How does that set of demand changes, be they increases or decreases, how does that impact your quality of service? And ultimately your goal here is to deliver high quality of service and responsive applications at the least cost possible to in turn provide dollars back into your company for a form of innovation and service innovation. And finally, all of that, you're balancing your key drivers, right, performance, cost, and risk through these apps. So without having something like predictive reliability, you're typically counting on the fact that what you've seen in the past is going to be indicative of what you're going to see in the future. And that's not necessarily a proven path to success. There's a lot of issues that are in there. You're typically going to be seeing a lack of accuracy of aligning with business forecasts. The business folks are dealing with headlights, if you will, of changes, be it like things like marketing campaigns and so on, that they expect to drive change in their environment. If you may have very poor insight into the impact of that IT changes, right, is going to increase your service delivery risk. Things like business continuity planning, right, having the ability to understand if certain applications which are having workload growth or change occurring against them, do I have enough capacity in my continuity environment if these disparate systems, which are currently maybe running in different totally unrelated environments, both of them have a plan to fail over into the same environment, right? Is there enough capacity to deal with the changing nature of those applications in the new environment for continuity planning, right? So these are increases to your service delivery. Understanding headroom for growth, right, can impact your performance and your bottom line. Not being able to have a visibility into these environments as you go forward can potentially result in low confidence or a view of low confidence from your lines of business because you're not necessarily able to effectively address the changes that they see that are going to be coming to happen. And then certainly, last but not least, is not having good visibility into how efficiently you're using your environment today can absolutely lead to unclear investment strategies. Either you may dramatically over-provision for a particular environment, or could be in a very risky situation where you fall over flat and get very poor performance when you're launching a new service offering for a new product for your particular environment, and your brand could take a bad hit from an impact perspective if people can't log into those applications or what have you. So becoming predictive, it does offer real benefits, from a perspective of certainly reducing the risk for the performance and availability of your environments, and also providing cost-efficient delivery for those environments to not only your internal service bureaus, your internal customers, but obviously to your external customer that's buying service from. So just an example, this is some insight into a health check capability or service that our services team has, where we're blending information from some of the CA APM suite, be it the Customer Experience Manager or APM, using that as a set of data for us to come up with a baseline infrastructure utilization. We correlate and profile some of the business volume information or the business or workload volume metrics that are in that environment. Use that also then as a basis for us to do predictive analytics and prescribed optimum sizing based on change. So we get a baseline profile. We work with the application teams, for example, to say, okay, we know that we're going to be rolling out a new version of our application, or we expect to have an internal departmental shuffle or merger and acquisition where we're going to have 20, 30, 40, 50% more users riding on top of this infrastructure. Well, let's run through and do a series of what-if scenarios that show what's the impact of these types of workload growth changes against my end-to-end business service. Where might I have performance bottlenecks, and what might and how might those drive response time impacts within my overall application, right? And then some of the results that you would expect to see out of that are, it's a quantified risk and investment answer that says, okay, you know what, based on these numbers that we see, we got a number of choices on how we can change that infrastructure to meet the expected demand changes and help reduce the risk for those for that new product launch or what have you, whatever the use case may be. So to kind of sum it up, and bring it back into the main elements here, it is quality of service, right? There's a number of things that are out there from a technology and a business perspective that are changing for your overall environment, and providing or using a capability such as predictive reliability gives you the ability to plan ahead and support those changes and ensure that you can provide a performant, low risk, and cost-efficient answer for keeping your environment up and running. So with that, I think that's the last part for here, and I will pass on to Jeremy to touch on some of the recent successes we've had within our product set.
Thank you, Paul. So let's dive right in. We want to talk about what we've learned today from the power of the solution and how some of our recent customers have used it to address some of their challenges. So the first one you see here, large financial institution that were recently under new federal regulations to report on their capacity, as well as a huge challenge of consolidating data centers. So what they were able to do, they already had a APM installation in-house, and to be able to build upon that solution with what we've already learned today, the ability for them to continue the service delivery SLAs that they had out to their customers was huge to them. So to be able to build upon their APM install with capacity management to really take those workload volume metrics with APM and then combining it with capacity management to do the optimum prescribing of the right-sized environment to support that application, and in the end to support the service delivery initiatives that they had. So the solutions not only enabled them to improve and continue on their service delivery initiatives, but produce the reports needed that under the new federal regulations that they were under, as well as provide key analytics to help them safely consolidate underutilized infrastructure during their data center consolidation efforts. Our next success story is a large power utility company, and their challenges were they were in the midst of opening a new data center, as well as rolling out probably one of the biggest set of applications to millions and millions of users on the West Coast. So what they were able to do is, once again, they had a solid APM installation in-house, and building upon the capacity management solution for that predictive reliability combination that we've been talking about today, they were able to, through the entire application lifecycle that Paul mentioned, able to understand how this new application, this power metering service that they were going to roll out to millions of households, as well as their IT staff are going to use it as well, during the development process, be able to use additional CA products to put load on this application, understand the load and the workload from that, and then with predictive reliability be able to optimally size the hardware or virtualized environment needed to support that application once it gets rolled out. This application from the IT staff in-house was going to be helping them understand how power was consumed on the power grid, as well as the end user, the household, once again, millions of households, being able to understand with this application how green their household is. Is it a good time to turn on the energy-efficient dishwasher? How much water have I used washing clothes this weekend? You can imagine as the millions of households out there using that application and the workload put on that business service. So, in the end, not only are they able to, once again, right-size with prescriptive analytics, opening up new data center and right-sizing the hardware needed to support that application, but in the end, ensuring an exceptional end-user experience because they've understood and tested the workload for this application and the exact amount of resources needed to run it in production. And finally, we have another financial institution, this one supporting our military and families. This was a customer that did not have APM in-house. This was a combined purchase of APM and capacity management. And what they were doing, once again, was really needing to be able to ensure the end-user experience with their banking applications. So they were rolling out new branches all over the world at military bases, as well as new applications inside those branches, new ATMs, and new web-based applications to support banking for the military and the family. And to make sure the end-user experience is exceptional, they really, understood the value of the combined solutions, the predictive reliability solutions, to be able to understand and get visibility into these critical apps that they were going to be rolling out. And they, not only needed to understand how not to provision resources for these new application rollouts, but also not to over-provision as well, to become more efficient at the same time, as well as delivering these solid services to more and more users as this application gets rolled out, or these applications get rolled out. So before I move on, once again, just a reminder, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature inside of the live meeting, and we're close to the end here, so we will get on those questions real soon. So I'm going to move into the resources that are available for everyone out on the web today. As you can see, you can visit ca.com/capacity management, and we have a lot of great content that's out there, starting with a lot of webcasts that have been recently produced around different use cases, some being consolidating, migrating virtual environments confidently, some being able to illustrate how capacity management is really a critical step to you understanding and moving with your cloud initiatives. And another one coming down the pipe next week or the following week is around our service provider families and how they can use the predictive reliability and capacity management solutions to help their customers onboard quicker, understand their capacity, and even capacity management as a service. If you haven't heard already, CA World is right around the corner at the end of April out in Vegas. We have multiple customers speaking about their success stories around capacity management, as well as hands-on labs where you can understand using the power of the solution we talked about today to use the prescriptive technology to optimally place workloads, to ensure service levels, learn how your infrastructure is at a capacity level today, as well as what's underutilized and overutilized. So great hands-on labs there. In the next slide, we're going to dive in a little bit more about CA World. Some white papers out on the web at ca.com as well around predictive capacity management, an analyst white paper from EMA describing how organizations can optimize infrastructure as well as free up associated capital and operating expenses using capacity management. Predictive Reliability Solution Brief, which is a great read, illustrates a lot of what we talked about today, as well as improving data center efficiency, another solution brief that's out there as well. And a couple coming soon to the ca.com capacity management website, a great white paper just recently written around capacity management's prescriptive resource scoring, which is the patented analytics that is used inside of CA's capacity management solution to really give you the confidence that the optimal placements that is suggested by the solution is the recommendations that you can move forward with, as well as a very high-level ebook on capacity management that really dives into critical insights organizations need to be aware of around utilizing a capacity management solution. Out on YouTube as well as ca.com is a interactive demo where you get to drive the virtual placement recommendations from the capacity management solution and really understand if I consolidate these 19 physical servers into a virtual environment on this hardware? How will my workload be affected? How more utilized will these resources be to find that sweet spot of utilization that we're all looking for today? And once again, if you haven't heard, CA World is around the corner coming in April. I will be out there at a capacity management demo station, so please stop by and say hi. But as you can see, we have a lot of sessions either with current customers telling their success stories or CA in-house staff talking about the power of the solution. We mentioned the hands-on lab, which is a great way for you to use the product and understand exactly the power that you can get from it, as well as I mentioned demo stations inside the exhibit center and other various associated predictive reliability and capacity management forums going on. And for more information, you can visit these links, understand travel arrangements, dates, times, etc., and sign up for any newsletters, as well as follow us on these various Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook pages. So with that, I'm looking at the queue, and I don't think I see any questions in the queue. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we can also, Jackie, probably open it up to any questions on the line.
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, if you would like to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. You do have a question from the line of Jim Lundy.
Yes.
Excellent. Hi, Jim.
Hi. Question I had real quick earlier on. You had the thing about modeling out for out to the cloud, and I was wondering which component products of CA are required to go ahead and have that ability. Is that in the base capacity management suite? Is that part of EPM, or what component or aspect is needed to do that cloud modeling?
Sure. Paul, actually, I'll redirect that to you.
Yeah, I got it. Hey, Jim, good to talk with you again.
Yeah.
There is actually 2 places in the product portfolio today that you can do this. One is within Capacity Manager, and the other is within our more legacy Performance Optimizer product. And what you see is we have included a series of library components within both of those products that correspond to a number of different cloud vendors. So I believe we now have in there a variety of systems from Amazon, right? So the Amazon EC2 environment, from Rackspace, from Verizon's Terramark, from CenturyLink's Savvis offerings, and then in our last release here, we just added in Microsoft Azure. So they're available within there for you to do hypothetical modeling exercises. That's the capability that we have today, which is what's the right size of cloud virtual machine that's needed for me to move workload off of. So basically trying to help you size, if you're contemplating moving something up to the cloud, what's the right size of cloud-based VM to use in support of that. That's the capability that we have in the products today. We do have some additional stuff that we're looking at coming up with in the next little while. I think actually we're slated to talk next week, right? So I can maybe touch on that when we talk next week. But that's the capability we have today, is helping you determine what's the right size of cloud-based VM across those vendors that I just mentioned.
Great, thanks.
We have no further questions at this time.
Great. Well, and Jeremy, I'm not seeing anything else in the queue online either. So again, if anyone has any questions, please post them onto the community, or you can reach out to us directly, or reach out to your salesperson as well. And again, I just want to make mention one more time. We are recruiting for board members for our global capacity management user community, and would encourage anyone who's interested in participating and helping us build up this community and build this up in such a way that it becomes a great resource for you. Please visit the community homepage. There's a link there to email Mary Greening, and she will get back to you as soon as possible. But I would encourage anyone who's interested to come in and help us.
It looks like we have one question in the Q&A.
Yeah. So the question is it possible or will it be possible to use CompuWare APM data with capacity management?
I can take that one, Kathy. Yeah, we have out-of-box integrations today for CA's APM solution, and we actually have integration to some of the HP products as well. If you are leveraging CompuWare in your infrastructure, we do have the ability to bring in through either our custom data adapter framework or potentially through a CSV structure, transactional and resource utilization information from other sources. So CompuWare would be an example there.
Great. Thanks, Paul. All right. I'm just looking to see if any other questions pop up. I'm not seeing any. And so, again, thank you, everyone, for your time today. We really appreciate it. And we're really looking forward to building up this capacity management community to be a very, very active community.